Okay, let's start this again. I had to do some syncing type of things. So, anyways, yeah, I decided to take this weekend off because the frequencies are a bit more aggressive. We're already approaching October 4th and 11th. We know there's a lot going on as far as the conspiracy world. And if you don't believe in that, then that's fine. You can live in your fantasy world and then just be surprised one day. But I realized what religion was and is. And religion is just a story with a large amount of people who believe in the story. That's basically what religion is. And you have all the offshoots. So when you think about what's going on in right now, we have people who have so many little microbial offspring. Microbial offspring. I'm trying to stretch my mouth here. And those microbial offspring have been replicating ever since who knows when. And that's why people die. And that's why they have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, because all those little microbial offspring are eating them out from the inside. They are eating their infrastructure. They're aging them. They're also eating the food that you're eating, and you're not feeding your parent cells. Okay? And so that's why I realized that it's not going to make a difference if people haven't felt the pain of things coming to surface and released out their rectum, literally, and cough and sneezed and blowed their nose. Then what they're feeding are all these little chaotic babies that they keep reproducing with remedies, with surgeries, with oncology, until those babies completely destroy the parent cells, until the babies destroy the host. And so I figured out that that's what religion is. It's the power of numbers. It is a great storyline that most people buy. Higher power, majority rules. That's why we're not going to have any more religion. That's why there's going to be a new world order. No more religion. No more really spiritual. There'll be spirituality, yes. You'll see those in the lower forms in the third world countries still buy into the whole higher power of a God somewhere over there, which I understand the Freemasons think that. But yes, a God is only how many people have been conditioned to believe one or two stories, all with the same intention and outcome. And then they act out the storyline. But it's about order, right? It's about law and order and organized chaos when you want to go through evolution. But it's still about order of operations, order and purpose, a well-functioning society. And there has to be a predominant storyline that people have to go by in order for that functioning society to stay in order. And so then I'm like, okay, so that's why I don't believe in religion, because it's irrelevant to me where the first fucking cell came from and what energized it. It really is. I could care less where the first cell in my body came from. When you think about in your body, you're like, okay, where was the first cell? Well, we know when you look at gestation, when you look at babies developing under a microscope, their ass is the one that develops first. And then their mouth. That's the alimentary canal. And then all the things spring from that, okay? And so when you think about everybody's an asshole. They began as an asshole, and then they had a mouth on them. And then those mouth and the asshole had things come out of it to develop then the rest of the body. But anything other than that, it's really fucking irrelevant. But you see everybody fighting over the wars of who became first and who's second, and what's coming today, what's coming tomorrow. All the different stories, whether it's the aliens or the Nephilim or some deity, what they think is higher power in the past. They're fucking dead. But again, you can't tell people not to worship dead people because that's what they have been bred to do. And so never underestimate the power of numbers. Are those numbers working for you or against you? And here's the thing. When you have so many little babies in your body working against you, giving you cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders, and you have people around you who are all immature, they're not fucking mature, and they're telling you, oh, you take your remedies, take your surgeries, get your operations, go pray to this and pray to that, you're fucking outnumbered. Of course you're going to go over the cliff with everybody else. Of course you don't believe my information because I'm fucking outnumbered. Oh, I get it. I get the whole fucking shebang. That's why you finally, when you realize this, now you start speaking your truth, because it doesn't matter what truth you speak. because it's not going to make a difference to those who are all about large numbers and praying to somebody and keeping up with all the immature cells in our body as they're taking the remedies and surgeries, because they can't handle the pain of release. Of course, the food ain't going to do shit for them. And they'll enjoy their food, yeah, but the food doesn't go in and out, and it's going to feed little babies who are not going to mature anyways because the parent cells are dying. How do you mature little babies in your body if the parent cells are deteriorating? There's no fucking way. And then you keep developing more little babies with all your little antibiotics, your natural remedies, more surgeries, more starvation for some people. And so, law of large numbers. In statistics, the theorem that as the number of identically distributed randomly generated variables increases, their sample mean or the average approaches their theoretical mean, the average. And so as people keep believing all these stories that they're supposed to fucking die someday and take your remedies and your surgeries and, oh, look at me, look how sexy I am, or look how hot I am, then you're going to see that the average person is not going to give a fuck about living indefinitely. Of course not. They're all about today and not feeling the pain, at all today or tomorrow, and they want to end up dead at some point, and hey, it's all about now, and look at all my beautiful baubles. Yeah, you're going to have the average person think they're supposed to die someday, and they're not going to give a fuck about living really to live. They're living to die. And they're going to take everyone around them with them because everyone else thinks the same way in their world. Because if they thought differently, their friends and their family would bully them back into alignment to their belief system. Okay? And so a random variable is a mathematical formalization of a quantity or object which depends on random events, though the term random variable can be misleading as it's not actually random, not a variable, nor a variable, but rather it is a function from possible outcomes in a sample space to a measurable space, often to the real numbers. That's how they mislead people. It's using those why don't they use another word? I don't know what they would use, but anyways. And so then I'm like, I was raised by a hypersane person. My mother is hypersane. She was one of the hypersane people. She was one of the geniuses out there. My mother is hypersane. And I was able to take on those characteristics. Her and I had so much of this. Eventually, I turned into a hypersane person. Eventually, once I released the demons. And so those in the J world, the very few of you that understand my information, once you become hypersane, you will seem like you're fucking insane to those out there who are sane. Because I'll tell you, when you finally see the stories for what they are, when you see society for what it is, that's why you step away. That's why you don't want to really hang out with too many people, because they don't fucking get you. They will never get you. Because you're too fucking sane. You're too logical. When we mean logical, you're too much like Spock, if you want to look at Star Trek. You're like, and I'm like asking, why should you die someday? Immortality is like a no duh. People are like, no. You saw how much pushback I got when people were resisting my information, even on Dr. fucking Phil? Yeah, when you're hyper sane, even at the time that I was, before even all these revelations that came up, I was thinking logically, you don't have to fucking die someday. And the medical holistic system keeps dumbing your ass down. They keep taking away your intelligence. They keep taking away your longevity. They keep taking away food from you. How the fuck are you supposed to live indefinitely and help yourself if you're fucking taking away food, you're distracted, you won't rest, you're taking all your remedies and your surgeries? How the hell are you supposed to live indefinitely and be vastly intellectually capable and maybe even progressively even more intelligent than the average person? You're not. When you're doing drugs and alcohol and mass amounts of sex and are all about looking hot for some dude, some strange dude, how the fuck are you going to become, you're going to live indefinitely when you're feeding into those social constructs? You're not. And most people around there, out there, the law of large numbers is the average person is going to fall into all the Hollywood star bullshit. Fall into all the past bullshit. Never evolve, because how can they when they're fucking starving? And they're being dumbed down progressively by the medical and the holistic system, all into their spirituality, right? Spirituality is all about looking for a higher purpose, looking for some, meaning of life, and playing with their hormones and seeing all these different things. Yeah, when you're doing drugs, whether it's using your body hormones or doing other drugs, you're going to be all about looking for higher purpose, adopting some storyline that sounds good at the moment and is popularized in some circles of people. Yeah, it's all about the best story with how many people who fucking believe it, and then they're going to follow right in lockstep of what that entails. Drugs, alcohol, sex, food mitigation, and hell, not feeling any pain, as I'm hearing sirens out there. And so, yeah, I heard a right ear frequency the other day, and I'm like, oh God, and then I feel the after effects. I would be coughing not too long after that frequency. And I mean by coughing, like I would wake up, like I'd have to sleep, and then I'd wake up just coughing, and then I'd blow my nose, and then I'd go back to sleep again. And it was like that yesterday. And so the hypersane people will not only hear the frequencies, but they'll know exactly down to the minute when shit's gonna fucking happen. Hypersane, not insane, but hypersane people who are so fucking logical. And logical, and that sounds so like vague, that understand physics and chemistry and math and English and understand frequency, not so much in the spiritual la-di-da-di hooty-hoo shit, but like when someone catalyzes an energy, it's going like an energetic wave, it's going to affect everyone. Some people are under the influence, they don't feel it, or they see funny colors and think that's the second coming of whatever. And so then you're like, oh shit, then you feel the growth in the body. You know you have to release it. I do every fucking morning now. I'm releasing demons. And sometimes I could feel the energy, like when a mother pushes out a baby, there's the prostaglandins that push things out. Well, I have prostaglandins in my freaking ass that is pushing out those little babies. You can call it Mr. Hankies, the poop babies, whatever. And I'm getting it all out. And sometimes that's when I have the best thoughts. That's when I get the better revelations, when I'm pushing out those little fucking babies. So I'm actually living in the energy, living in the fucking energy. And then I'm hungry and I'm eating all day long and I'm taking naps, because what else are you going to do? We're going to resist the environment and work against your body, your mind, and your spirit. And that's just what's going on. People are resisting the changes and they're fucking themselves up, like literally fucking themselves up. Like you see an abandoned house out there that is all weathered. There is no updates to the house. Everything is deteriorating. It's been in the elements for years. And now there's no more paint. The infrastructure's gone. The house has been pilfered for all the metals, the precious metals, copper, anything that's worth of value. And now it's just some broken down house that looks like a barn with no windows. That's what people's bodies are like. Their infrastructure is disappearing. They're looking like an abandoned house that has not had any updates to it because it can't. And so that's the world that we're living in right now. And that's what's going on. So when you're hyper sane, you fucking see now all the connections at the micro level and the macro level. And I studied the micro level the last 7 years, and I studied the macro level. I studied people's behaviors, their lifestyle, their belief system, all the little stories around everything that's going on. And again, religion and spirituality is all about whose story is the most popular based upon someone's lifestyle and what they are, what they've been raised with, and the people that they interact with, because, they'd rather interact with the spiritual energy healing people over here that wear their outfits and play their games of chakras and crystals, which I get, okay, fine. But then they'd rather do that than those over here in the churches with the numbers of people who believe they have the blood of Christ all over them. And I'm just like, that's like a horror movie, a blood of Christ all over you? What? That's like, why would you have the blood of anything all over you? I cut myself the other day, day before, because I wanted to sit in the dining room with my husband and eat food. And we had something on a chair, and I don't know if it was like a plastic or something, but I was trying to put it off and I cut myself. Okay, and I'm looking at blood coming out, like, oh my God. And so what I do, I get salt water and I put my hand in the salt water. Jason's like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, because that's how it's going to cure it from, I put pressure on it, but it wasn't like a deep cut. You can't even see it, but there was a puncture. And I just put my hand in the salt water. That's what I do when I puncture myself when there's blood. I just cure myself because it's a small little one. If I had a bigger cut, I would figure out a way to cover it and put salt and water on it to cure it, and then feel the pain with the bandage as the damage goes out and I keep eating food to rebuild. but I would handle the pain that way. But it's such a small cut, the salt water wasn't gonna like hurt me or anything. Okay? But I can't imagine having the blood of anything all over me, much less the blood of some dead person. And so yeah, the heat right now is very bad. A hypersane person knows that heat's going to develop babies. Heat's going to develop growth. That's why people's gardens are growing so astronomically and they're getting such big, yielding such big cucumbers and melons and grapes or whatever, because the energy in the environment. And then when you see that it needs more nutrients, then you add more nutrients as the soil looks like it needs. I don't know how people do that when they do their gardens. But yes, you're going to see massive amounts of growth in people. And that's called cancer, disease, and chronic illness, autoimmune disorders. And that's also a died suddenly when you have a closed immune system and you're more muscle than you are fat. So I even noticed my during the time I'm going through an energy conversion, my thighs look a little bit thicker. But they look almost like there's like cellulite, but not really. It's the fact that my body's going through, it's doing what it has to do. And then after a couple of days after going through the energy conversion, it doesn't look cellulite anymore. Now it just looks smooth. Like my face, when it goes through energy conversion, it gets so big and bloated. I didn't even dry my hair this morning because my husband's home. He's going to go do this last load from last week that he has to go and deliver. And he's coming home to sleep because his body needs to go and rest. And so I didn't dry my hair. But anyway, so yeah, but I looked at my thigh this morning and it didn't look cellulite. So even my consistency of my skin and my fat and the muscles all changed during these energy frequencies and energy conversions. And so the heat right now is very bad in Northeast Ohio. The highs will be in the 80s and the lows in the mid 50s. Next week, not this week, but next week, there's going to be like the 30s and the 40s, and it's going to be a major cool down. And so the temperature fluctuations are going to kick people's asses, and they are. They're going to. Okay, that's what's kicking. That's why you're hearing sirens all the time. People can't handle that kind of quickness in the frequencies. They can't handle that kind of environmental change, like going on a plane and going from point A to point B in different time zones or in even different states or different environments. There has to be some kind of conditioning process. And as soon as I get conditioned to one frequency, another one comes up like that and throws things off. That's what you're fucking facing. That's called conditioning. And that's like basic training. Hell week. That's what we're in right now. We're in hell decade. And it's going to be, the system is going to put the squeeze on you as far as the prices and the food. They're going to put the squeeze on you as far as so many different recommendations that people are like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Or you're going to see some crazy ass shit. And you're going to see people going into accidents, dying suddenly, getting disease, going to the hospital. Animals right now are suffering. I'm seeing on my Facebook, kids are suffering, animals are suffering. It's insane. And so I'm glad I made chicken soup because again, I planned for it. Not even knowing. That's something I don't even know shit's gonna happen. I just do. Like last week, I bought a bunch of chicken drumsticks. I'm like, when do I ever fucking buy chicken drumsticks? And then on Friday, I made chicken soup because I'm like, I felt so weird on Friday. And I threw everything together. I made chicken soup. I'm like, okay, I can't waste this food. I gotta make it. And so I made the chicken soup. And then lo and behold, my husband gets sick. And now I know I'm gonna have to take care of him, which is fine. I take care of him all the time. I'm gonna feed his ass and keep feeding it. And I gotta buy more food so he can keeping his strength up. I know I'll be feeding his little babies, but hey, whatever keeps him going. If it's little microbial babies are aging him out on the inside, fine. I mean, you gotta figure out, what are you actually feeding? Are you feeding you or are you feeding your little children in your body? And so the more I become mentally clear about what's going on, the worse the shit's gonna get. And so I told that to Audrey when we were going back and forth, is that I'm like, you know what? Now I'm so clear about what religion and politics are, what religion and what death is and what offspring are and babies and all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, I see things for what they are now. I can put it all together. And those who don't really understand, they're not going to see it. They're going to think I'm crazy. And so that's why I'm staying home and staying safe. It's not just starting, okay? So Audrey was saying that be careful. There's going to be civil unrest. Or people are going to be crazy. I know my hair is whatever. Okay, fine. I'll just leave my hair. I'm sorry. Okay. It just, I didn't want to wake my husband up, even though I did. Give me 1 second. So she posted, She posted a video that says that UK and the US are going to have civil unrest and other stuff going on. People are having an issue with a lot of things. They're unraveling. And so that's why I'm saying, that's why I'm staying home and I'm staying safe. It's not starting. It's just becoming more obvious. People, and this is what Roger is saying, people are losing it everywhere. The masks are predictably being used to hide from cameras. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. This is the real reason for masks and lockdown. And we know they're having the organized thievery going on in Philadelphia. And then New York is underwater. New York is going to be underwater. And people in New York are going to be going through that. People at the ground floor are going to be drowned out. And of course, all the infrastructure in some of these buildings are not going to be able to handle that kind of deluge every time it rains. And that's what they're going to be facing. Every time it rains, they're going to be under some water. You think Long Island's going to be able to handle it? No. Or even Manhattan Island? No, that's going to be gone. All right? And so Audrey's saying it's not starting. It's just becoming more obvious. People are losing it everywhere. The masks are predictably being used to hide from cameras. You're absolutely right, Audrey. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. This is the real reason for mass lockdowns. The crazy frequencies are triggering the worst in people. Take care out there. And I said, thank you, Audrey Stewart. And I said even to her on even the comments, the more I become mentally clear about what's going on, the worse it's going to get. Okay? And so October 1st was National Black Dog Day. And someone on my Facebook who's friends with my husband, like the mother of his friend, has a black dog, a pit bull. And she posted about National Black Dog Day. And I'm like, what? When is this? I never heard of this. Is this something? They have all these like national days of National Sibling Day, National Red Hair Day, National Black, all these new days to go and celebrate. What? These new little days. So National Black Dog Day is October 1st, 2023. Black dogs, this is the positive side of it. Everything has a positive and negative. Black dogs are generally regarded as sinister or malevolent, and a few, such as the Barghest and the Shuck, are said to be directly harmful. Some black dogs, however, such as the Gert dog in Somerset, are said to behave benevolently as a guardian black dog, guiding travelers at night on the right path, protecting them from danger. I don't know how you would know if that black dog is helping you or hurting you. I don't know how the hell do you know unless, the black dog is recognized as folkloric. Then there is the other side of it. The black dog is a supernatural, spectral, or demonic hellhound originating from English folklore that is also seen throughout Europe and the Americas. It is usually unnaturally large with glowing red or yellow eyes. It is often connected with the devil as an English incarnation of hellhound and is sometimes an omen of death. Okay? So right now, in this world, right now, Black Dogs, October 1st, which is basically the month where everyone dresses up as something different, and they're worshiping death. And I get it because that's the balance. There's spring, which is the rebirth, and then there's the death. But what are you rebirthing? Are you rebirthing another child who has to be trained by the system yet again and go through the trials and tribulations? Or are you rebirthing yourself and you're maturing yourself and you're not feeding all the little babies in your body and you're releasing them? And you are birthing yourself. But that's the thing. There's got to be a positive and negative. So yeah, Halloween this month is going to be insane. It already is. And so it is sometimes associated with electrical storms, such as Black Shuck's appearance at Bungay. Electrical storms. Oh, we're heading into some shit. We're already in this shit. It's just becoming more obvious, like Audrey was saying. And also with crossroads, barrows, as a type of fairy hound, places of execution, ancient pathways. Yeah, the system is telling you, they're telling you if you can read between the lines. But see, someone who's a mainstreamer, right, who doesn't really get what's going on, they're going to look at it and say, oh, look, a National Black Dog Day. I have a pretty black dog. Yes, you do. And the other side of it is, holy shit, it's a harbinger of doom. A harbinger of doom. Okay? And so this is where I'm going to go and say, VAXXED or not. Feed the microbial offspring and release, not cure. So those of you who are recommending all your different pills, power supplements, and detoxes and whatever, you are developing more microbial offspring that are not allowed to be released. That's the role of the medical holistic world, is to make you so fertile that either you drop a kid and that kid takes your life away systematically over time, or you have so many microbial offspring in your body that doesn't turn into sexual reproduction, but then turns into an enemy that's working against you. Okay? So vaxxed or not, feed the microbial offspring and then release, not cure. My book does not promote J juice once you feel the pain. You feed the pain, you release it, like I said in my book. All your friends coughing are no different than a V'd or not. Your friends are spitting out antibodies. You're breathing them in. Your friends and family are no different than the V's they get on the market. Okay? And so this is why I'm like, hey, at this point, you can't be afraid of the V's or not getting V'd, because you have to now release the demons and feed the body. And it's not just gaining weight, because what kind of weight are you gaining? You could be gaining gelatin because your collagen is being melted off, because all the little babies are then tearing down your infrastructure, turning you into a gelatinous blob. Okay? You have to know what your body is converting into. It's not just the weight. Don't take me so literally, but understand how stuff works, and understand Dante's Inferno, the 9 circles of hell, and all of the 7 deadly sins, and then also fertility, and recommending holistic things to your friends and family, and even to yourself, and afraid of the frequencies. Flu is a frequency. All the different therapies out there. The people are afraid of, they're like, oh, be careful of this, be careful of that, take this detox and do this and do. No, they're no different than you doing your antibiotics, your natural antibiotics. All the therapies are no different than taking your herbal fucking remedies. You're 2 sides of the same coin, not even realizing the system has played your ass. Now you have to feed your body and release those demons in the way that I have in my book, and not using J juice anymore, because you don't need it. If you're skinny, you should be off the J juice. If you're fucking skinny, you should be eating food and pulling out that fucking shit out of your ass. Maybe you should cut your nails. And so fear and protection is a psyop. When the frequencies go up because of climate change, regardless of where it comes from, you will blame those who didn't get a V, or you'll blame those who received a therapy. Regardless of who you blame, could you handle the environment? Did you survive it? Are you suffering? How are you handling your suffering? It doesn't matter where it comes from. How are you responding? Are you choosing to take away your life? Are you choosing to balance the life in your body, mind, and spirit? And please don't mistake in the spirit as far as spiritually. I believe in the power of numbers and the power of people's intention in numbers, what they do to themselves and each other in numbers. I don't underestimate the power of people's intentions. And so when you surround yourself by people who are afraid of the frequencies, afraid of microbes, afraid of V's, afraid of people who don't get a V, you all have an intention to take away your life force. You all do. And the intention is coming to fruition. People are being cannibalized by the environment because the little offspring in their body are cannibalizing them. They're feeding the babies, not themselves. And so that's why knowing what you're craving right now and not actively being in that starvation discipline, which is so rife in the medical holistic system. Oh, deny yourself any kind of food that's poison, that's junk food, that's processed. So you're disciplining yourself to starve yourself. That's what goes on in the holistic system too, and the medical system. Because you see them taking away food from cancer patients. You see them people on diets, doing all their different remedies and everything. And so I wanted to let you know that, a couple of years ago, I was eating just oranges every single night. Before I go to bed, I'd be peeling the orange and eating it. And so I was getting so much vitamin C. And then I was also eating steak and stuff during that time as well. So you get the vitamin C, and you get the iron, and those two work together. They synthesize together. And so then last summer, I was eating so much milk, so much ice cream, like massive amounts of milk and ice cream and cream. Okay, because I needed it. This time around, I'm eating cheese like every freaking night, and tomatoes, some spaghetti, yes, but also protein now. So on Saturday, I made a breakfast hamburger, or was it Sunday? I made a breakfast hamburger, a power breakfast. I had hash browns, flour, and egg, and cheeseburger and egg. And so that's what my body needed. And of course, I have the chicken soup for my husband and for me, because this week is going to be off the hook. It already is off the hook. I feel it. Again, there's been accidents, people dying suddenly, people getting diagnosable conditions, kids in the hospital, people dropping like flies, like this chick in Mapleton school system in Northeast Ohio. She looks like a regular girl that has some structure to her, and she died suddenly out there on the field or whatever. She died suddenly. Okay? People are dying suddenly all over the place. Athletes, people who are in the workout world, people fighting disease. And so I said, no Sunday morning live on Sunday. Chew on this as you all go to your prospective areas of worship. Spirituality is a storyline. Story align. Does the story align? But what does it align with? To belong to the Freemasons, you have to believe in some sort of God. It doesn't matter what kind, but they want you to believe in a higher power. Well, of course, because they control the narrative and all of your spirituality. I don't care if it's about Nibiru. I don't care if it's about Jesus Christ or another planet or the aliens, the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and all that. I don't care what it is. Okay? If you believe in a higher power, that's a Freemason thing. But it's power in numbers. Does your religion hold the large amounts of numbers to then move society in a specific way? Well, yeah. Especially when you all have the same intention. Take away pain. Get into your spirituality. And then die someday and justify it, right? With another storyline that says, hey, it's great to die. It's fun to die. It's, no, yeah, okay. That's another justification. And so to belong to the Freemasons, you have to believe in some sort of God. It doesn't matter what kind, but they want you to believe in a higher power. In my world, power is in numbers. I belong to the collective called humanity. There is an order, the New World Order, the order of the Freemason, the order of the Rosicrucian. Every balanced, organized society must have some kind of order, or else chaos and then extinction. My story aligns with life. It is part of the order, no different than your resistance and your death. Culture is part of the order. For every life, there must be some kind of death, or else extinction. But you also have the power to choose, at least some of you. Not everybody has the power because they don't even know they have it, or they never were given access to it. So imagine those in the third world countries. And they don't know what's going on. They don't have any internet, and they're all into their old religions and everything, praying to something. And then one day a big flood comes out and takes them out. And now they're gone. And those who survive are like, oh, that must be God punishing the bad ones, right? That's what people say, like, when you die, it's God punishing. I mean, yeah, on some level, yeah, because you're not. But see, if you're not getting warning, right, that there's going to be a massive whatever, a massive flash flood, and your whole town was washed away, and it just happened, then... Well, they were getting punished for their ancestors. Well, that actually is probably true. All right. Be thankful you're given access to some kind of power of choice. All right. Be thankful. Choose wisely. Find the story that aligns with you. And the whole J world is a story that aligns with me. I'm not about worshiping death. I'm not about recommending any remedies to anyone or surgeries or taking away anyone's freaking pain. I'm not into destroying other people for my own personal gain or for social capital. You know, I'm telling you, I could, as long as you keep feeding yourself, and I'm hungry right now, I feel the energy. As long as you keep feeding yourself and you rest and you find a way to cut down on your lifestyle so you can survive this, yeah, you can believe whatever the hell you want. But I guess if you want to die, then you'll do whatever the hell, I guess. But my story of life aligns with me, and I'm still part of the order, as are you, because I do not worship chaos. I understand controlled chaos, but I do not worship anarchy. Today, be very mindful who you hunt, and that was on Sunday. Who you hate, who you resist, and most of all, be very mindful who you love, because love is the biggest deception, especially if you're not aware of how it can manipulate. And people use love all the time. Well, if you love me, you do this. Or, I love everybody, so that way you have everybody like all giving you social capital and whatever. And no, I respect my fellow man. I respect their choices and their decisions. I respect myself. And I give people options, and I don't ram this shit down their throat, and I don't go on people's pages and say you should do this, this, and that. I really have learned how to hold back me trying to convert somebody else. Okay? And so new religion, also known as evolution, in keeping with the geometrical and architectural theme of Freemasonry, the supreme being is referred to in Masonic ritual by the attributes of the great architect of the universe, is sometimes abbreviated as GAOTU, Grand Geometer, or something similar. And that's the G in the Freemason, what is that? The compass and the square or something, or the triangle. Okay? That's the Freemason. It's basically the grand architect of the universe, because you don't know where all this began. But either you end it for yourself or you keep it going. But that's your fucking choice. And you can build any story you want around it. That's basically religion and spirituality. It is explaining physics and chemistry and mathematics through language. And so all religions are welcome in this world, and you must be responsible for what you choose to do in your religion. And when you hold a religion with a very specific outcome, there is no one to blame but yourself. So don't be afraid. If you're all about expecting to die someday and going over the rainbow or wherever, then why are you so afraid of all the different things that are going on if you expect to die someday? Okay? Your fear is what keeps the whole train of death going. And that's the thing about the fear campaigns. I'm just warning you guys so you can get out of harm's way, not because you'll be like, oh my God, I'm afraid I'm going to die from toxic spills. I'm afraid I'm going to die from... No. It's like, here's the thing. In America, in the West, in Western Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, you're getting some kind of warning. In Hawaii, they were given options to sell, and they chose not to. And they're an indigenous population. I'm so sorry. Even the Indians or the Native Americans, I'm so sorry you were displaced. And you weren't advanced enough. You didn't have the law of large numbers, and you didn't have the advancement enough to understand what was going on. And you allowed someone to come in. But what else you can do? You want what they have, and you weren't strong enough. That's how shit works. You have to understand the large numbers and firepower and harnessing energy is what rules. That's the higher power. And it's time for people to realize that you've been outsmarted. You've been outsmarted, outwitted, outnumbered. Just because the collective of the Freemasons may be less, like maybe let's say 1% plus all the underlings, they have the firepower. They have the CERN. That's what I'm saying. When you see the CERN and how big it is, that's why they have the rituals of praying to it, because that's a higher power. That's going to change the environment. That's going to change society. That's the higher power they're talking about. And you don't even realize this because you're thinking the higher power is some like little spirit out there that's like dancing along. You're like, oh, look, I see something through my psychedelic shit. I see triangles. I see this. Nah, you're seeing your fucking hormones. But what the logical, hypersane people out there in the world that run your fucking world, they know what the higher power is. Even I now, finally. And maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But the higher power is in the machines. Who controls the machines? Those that are hypersane. Those that understand what's going on. And they'll let you all figure out your little storyline and then die from it or live from it. It's up to you. You have a choice. And so why don't you reconsider your religion and belief system before you start pointing fingers at anyone? Okay? And don't be mad. I know people are mad. I get it. People are mad. They don't like the fact that people are going to be scaled down. But it's their fucking choice. Okay? It is their choice. I tell you, I dare people in my J world to understand what's going on and to actually embrace it and find a way to get out of harm's way. And so I wanted to make an update. Yesterday I had a left ear frequency change, pretty aggressive one. I said 10-4 will be bad. It was clear and hot outside and still is hot. There was a blue sky. I was thinking we were on the calm before the storm. But as soon as that frequency change came up, now all of a sudden there were clouds. And then I have a slight hive under my boob. It's gone now. And so update, sneezing last night, blowing my nose early this morning, yesterday morning. Yep, I can pinpoint the delayed reaction from the frequency change. So when we have that weather, that weather alert system going off for at least a half an hour as far as frequency, half an hour. And then you have the beep that may be for a minute. When they say a half an hour where that same message of do nothing, okay, for a half an hour, can you imagine that tone going off for half an hour in your ear for those that are not cured? When you can hear that frequency change, which is for a minute, go off for half an hour? Half an hour? You want to be a genius? Face your pain and your predisposed issues. Strategize your survival. Feed your mind intellectual thought processes and understand all arguments. Maybe it's time to kick the drug habit, okay? And the alcohol habit. Eventually the smoking habit. And you need food to become smarter. All food. By the way, your remedies and cures are not making you any smarter. Just a heads up. The medical and the holistic system is not making anyone smarter. The medical and the holistic system is taking away your life via immaturity, offspring. Over time, the children destroy the parents, just like in families, no different than in your body. All systematically, which means they're dumbing you down. I'm just being honest. Okay, people are like, oh yeah, youth are so great. That's why they're worshiping Taylor Swift and her athlete husband. They're both young. young and dumb, been programmed for whatever capacity. They're being thrust out there in the spotlight so everyone worships them. But they have absolutely no real maturity, really, when you think about it. They don't have any life experience. They're just going to be there for people to worship and go down with the ship like everybody else. Everyone rooting for their football games and bowing down to some performer. That's basically idolatry. That's hero worship. That's worshiping. That's religion. And I hear the sirens out there. Holy shit. And so anyways, all systematically, which means they're dumbing you down. I'm just being honest. You don't have to have the childhood programming like I had, in order to be smart. Everyone has some kind of trauma in their life. The question is, can you face it? Release the damage. Build back better. Genius is just one change away. Hypersanity requires a relative solitude and strategy. And there's so many ways to be a genius. And I will say, in my opinion, spirituality is not part of it. That's just my honest opinion. Spirituality can be defined generally as an individual search for ultimate or sacred meaning and purpose in life. Additionally, it can mean to seek out, search for personal growth, religious experience, belief in supernatural realm or afterlife, or to make sense of one's own inner dimension. Yeah, that's called religion. Everything can be explained through physics, laws, biological laws, mathematical equations, the manipulation of language, and chemical reactions. Spirituality is a story you tell about physics influencing chemical reactions, developing an unstable or stable blueprint. Spirituality is a storyline. The storyline has a purpose, an intention, and a very specific measurable result. It doesn't even matter where or when life began, and it doesn't even matter why you're here until you disappear yourself, or you allow someone who has the numbers, the majority, to disappear you. Where everything began is pretty much irrelevant. What's relevant is if you want to end it or keep it going. But to believe in a higher power, yeah, humans on earth. The one with the best story wins, okay? That's why Catholicism is so popular, because the Spanish went and converted so many people and beat them into submission. That's why the Catholic Church is so powerful. But they understood. The Catholic Church understands what's going on. They're not satanic. They understand positive and negative, and they can be pretty, it's legalistic, and they've tempered it down. But then you have the Jewish mystics, the Christian Gnostics, same thing as Catholic Church, in my opinion. And you have the Hermetics, the Greek and the Egyptian platforms. Okay, that's the Rosicrucians. Yeah, so the one with the best story wins. Power is in numbers, relative to intention. If 50 people want to explode a bomb, 7 times 10 to the 6, which is basically 7 million degrees, right? There is your higher power. You have no control over 50 people and 7 million degrees. You are essentially outnumbered. All right, so the whole J world, you're outnumbered by those who believe in death and dying and taking away pain, and they're in their politics, they're in their spirituality, religion, and science dogmas, and they don't want to fucking change. And so just be the one to represent and be that representation. And so higher power equals majority rules. The Trinity in the Catholic Church is all about the power of 3. It's a prime number. Then you bring in math. See, I studied even math too. I studied equations. I studied the equal sign, the plus sign. It's energy. And then, negative times negative equals, positive times positive equals positive. Negative times positive equals negative. That is cell replication. But what kind of cells are you replicating? Are you replicating little immature cells from all your pills, powder supplements, and detoxes, and herbs and extracts, and cannabis? Or are you going to release those little fucking demons and multiply your parent cells and mature them so you can get your youth and vitality back without always starting over again with little immature cells in your body that doesn't allow you to evolve? That's what goes on, is when you keep reproducing children and reproducing little immature cells in your body, you're not evolving. You're just programmed for that current programming, and then you die from all the children in your body. That's what's going on. And so the Trinity in the Catholic Church is all about the power of 3, prime number, parent or father, child, son, religion, the Holy Spirit, or the positive, negative, and equal, and what is it? Multiplication, division, and all that. So prime numbers have attracted the interest of scientists since the first formulation of Euclid's theorem in 300 BC. These are integer positive numbers that do not result by the product of other numbers. They can only be divided by 1 and themselves. The product of two prime numbers is a composite number. Okay? And so prime numbers equals immaculate conception, Mary divided / energy. So she divided herself, right? That's what women do. They divide themselves and they have a bunch of fucking children. So if Mary developed a tumor that happened to be in her uterus, and that tumor turned into a baby, and the baby now is Jesus Christ, that's immaculate conception. That's one dividing into itself. Okay? So Mary divided energy by one and herself. Mary, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit is the energy. It's the division, teratoma. And people are like, I can't believe you just equated Jesus Christ to a teratoma. Cancer is just life. That's all it is. All right? The first few prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, and 29. And those numbers are used in the Rosicrucian, the Freemason, the ritual-based types of things going on. All right? Euclid proved that if two triangles have the two sides and included angle of one respective equal to two sides and included angle of the other, then the triangles are congruent in all respect. And it shows you the two triangles, that shows you this, like a straight line, and then one that goes like this. And if it went this way and there was a line here, that would be equal, congruent, and go like there. And then that's, so you have basically congruence. Have two triangles have two sides in it. Okay, and it shows you, I have a link there. And so there are people in the population. I find these articles because I'm tapped into so many articles on Facebook. I make sure I am, because I feed my brain different information other than the bullshit that people keep looping in all the time, right? So Carl Jung is a hypersane person, and guess what? My mother studied Carl Jung. She's a master's in psychology. My mother is a she's a hypersane person, and hypersane people are not they're warm, but they're not. They are, but they aren't. Hypersane people are not emotional. They're not all love, 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 love. They don't manipulate with love and hate and all that stuff. Okay? I mean, yes, there might be some hatred because of lower people. But Carl Jung was a hypersane person. Now note, trauma will open up portals of awareness you never had. You just have to know how to channel the trauma. An army doctor during the World War I, that must have been a traumatic for Jung. So Jung was an army doctor. He was out there in World War I, and he was seeing atrocities left and right, everything blown off, putting people back together again. He probably going like, what is the point of this? I mean, trauma, can really do a number of things on you. And so scientists know how to use trauma to develop innovation, not lay people. But if you happen to be naturally in an environment where somebody is an alcoholic or a drug addict, or they're beating you up, or they're antagonizing you, or they're bullying you, or you're in the military and you go to war, you're going to naturally be around trauma. And what are you going to do with that energy? Are you going to go and destroy somebody else, or are you going to use that and channel it to something fucking amazing and keep yourself alive and keep your family alive? And so if you had any sort of trauma or hardship, you can channel that energy and release the demons and build your body up and face the pain. My book can give you the clues on how I did it. But again, check with your doctor. Not everybody can survive facing demons of their past because they have a shitty support system. But you also must feed your mind something you want to specialize in that is life affirming, or else you become radicalized into destruction and death. And that's what a lot of these religions are about, is radicalizing you into death and destruction and fear and having a billion fucking kids and blaming somebody and hunting humans because you don't agree with them. Now look at the activists out there, or people in denial, traumatized and radicalized into destruction. They're taking their oncology, they're doing their cannabis, they're doing so many things to themselves, getting implants and transplants, or they're trying to protect you from the environment, selling you shit. Okay, when you can't get away from frequencies or radiation or anything like that. And so the concept of hypersanity, though modern, has ancient roots. The Scottish, so Audrey, this is to your people, the Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Laing thought of hypersanity as a state of higher consciousness that could be reached by a voyage of discovery, potentially on one fueled by madness. Carl Jung had firsthand experience with the state of consciousness as he psychologically recovered from serving as an army doctor during World War I. No wonder I was chosen out of the Vietnam War. I already had war behind me. I already had the trauma of war and starvation. Then it was programming me even more so. Jung and Diogenes came across as insane by the standards of their day, but both men had a depth of acuteness, of vision, that their contemporaries lacked, and that enable them to see through their facades of sanity. Both psychosis and hypersanity place us outside society, making us seem mad to the mainstream. Both states attract a heady mixture of fear and fascination. But whereas mental disorder is distressing and disabling, hypersanity is liberating and empowering. That's what I'm saying. Once you release those demons and you're not afraid of everything anymore, and you get away from your friends and family who are trying to destroy you, and maybe even your parents, you will be able to speak your mind. You'll be able to live the life that you want, and you're not kowtowing to the fucking queen bee in your house and out there. If you're a kid, I'm sorry if your mom does not allow you to be, I'm sorry if your mom has forcing you to live the mainstream lifestyle, but her hands are tied. It's those who are 18 and older who have the chance to be liberated and empowering, getting away from those who are sane and normal, right? Normal men have killed perhaps 100 million of their fellow normal men in the last 50 years. 100 million. Normal men destroying their friend, the herbalists, the extracts people, the remedies people, the doctors, the nurses, the holistic people. War. Many normal people suffer from not being hypersane. They have a restricted worldview, confused priorities, and are racked by stress, anxiety, and self-deception. As a result, they sometimes do dangerous things and become fanatics or fascists or otherwise destructive or not constructive people. In contrast, hypersane people are calm, contained, and constructive. It is not just that the sane are irrational, but they lack scope and range as they are grown into the prisoners of their arbitrary lives, locked up in their own dark and narrow subjectivity. Now look at your fucking friends and family. Unable to take leave of their selves, they hardly look around them, barely see beauty and possibility, rarely can contemplate the bigger picture, and all ultimately for fear of losing themselves or breaking down or going mad, using one form of extreme subjectivity to defend against another as life, mysterious, magical life, slips through their fingers. Now look at your friends and family, lost in their fear, in their fucking religion, in their science dogmas. And they're all around you, and they will pull you into their cesspool of self-deception. And I hear another fucking frequency change and all of that. So you can, now see those in the J world who actually understand me, not the ones that say, okay, I understand you, but they still do whatever they do. But those who actually understand where I'm coming from, who's willing to actually to challenge their own audience and not take away their pain and give them abso-fucking-lution and say that you're going to be the all Gaia loving grandmother or mother. But those who understand where I'm coming from, you'll embrace what the New World Order is doing, not only because you understand what's going on, but you'll be the representation of somebody who can see the bigger picture. That's okay with the system allowing people to make choices to destroy themselves. Hello, John. But it's not a bad thing what's going on, okay? It's not a bad thing. What the system is doing, whether it's with robots or anything else, it's not a bad thing. Just keep yourself out of harm's way and keep feeding the energy. That's all I'm saying. Because you know how bad it's going to get. It's going to get bad. It's already getting fucking bad. And most people out there are in their arbitrary, normal lives thinking nothing's going to fucking change in their world because they're doing the J-juice. No, the J-juice is done with. Now you got to face how bad your body is breaking down because of your lack of change, your lack of scope of awareness. Okay? And so even I realized that probably one or two people maybe in the J world gets this. The rest are just like entertained by this information, but they're not going to do anything really different. But I'm going to tell you, the NWO is doing a good thing. I want John to say, this is not a bad thing. It's not about EXTRMINATION. No. People are choosing to destroy themselves, John. They're choosing that. It's not a bad thing. Now you just have to be out of harm's way. You have to now get out of harm's way and feed your body, release the demons, and understand that what this system is also doing is they're not going to make a system go like all out chaos, because why would they destroy something they've worked so hard to build? Why would they start from square one? They're going to put the squeeze on you as far as food, as far as expensiveness. Are you going to choose that lavish vacation, or are you going to feed your family? What are you going to spend your money on? What are you going to spend your time on? What are you going to do to get out of harm's way? What are you going to do to be a representation that people have to fucking change if they want to save themselves? Okay? So that's why I don't invest in any of the crap out there, because I know that if my society is going to still stay intact, there'll be people doing stupid shit, yes, but I'm going to stay out of harm's way. They're still going to have the factories to make the food. They're not going to just all out starve people. And if they want to surgically take out a specific population, oh, there'll be a fire. And no, the infrastructure will still be there, but the people will not be. That was a joke because they look like they're... Okay. Well, yeah, okay. But what I'm saying is that the system is going to surgically take out things. And they're going to force you to make choices. Okay? And so you have to understand that to survive this, you have to make the choices, like buying food. If you want to store food, fine. By not buying those baubles. And so I will never, ever assume that they're going to all out just put everybody in complete chaos. No, this is a surgical way. We're not going to have the 1930s where everyone's going to be in breadlines. There are people in breadlines in specific places, yes. In areas where it's poor, they're wanting to really just weed everyone out. But see, here in America, I don't know, man. You raise the frequencies, those that are weak will die. That's just no two ways about it. The ones that are strong will still keep going through their bank online. Their husband or wife is working, making money, respectfully online. Not making money online, but they're doing their job, and their job is giving them money. And so their money is then being put in an account. It'll be fine there, and you can have it earn interest or not, whatever. And then you buy food with that, and that food then gets delivered to you, or you go buy it through your bank card at the store, whichever. And if the stores have to close because they're in areas like the big cities, like Audrey was saying, the big cities, be careful. Like in San Francisco, okay? San Francisco, they're closed. The CVSs are leaving, even some of the Targets, maybe even some of the Walmarts. Maybe they'll have warehouses for people who are online, who are making money, and their money is going to their bank, and they know how to transfer, and they use their credit card, and they transfer. And they don't ever have to leave their house and deal with the stupid riffraff out there who's doing stupid shit. And so a lot of ways, the system is tearing down the brick and mortar because they want everybody online. Doesn't mean you have to buy crypto, but they want everybody online. And so those that don't get the mark of the beast, right, have an online, it'll be harder for them. Yeah, they can live on their garden, but even then, how long can you live on your garden? They're not going to starve people out. They want people to go a specific way. And if you don't go a specific way, they'll make your life harder until you stop resisting. That's why I want you guys to stop resisting. Just embrace what's going on. There's no way to protect yourself. Okay? And that's why I mentioned that Costco thing about the bars of gold. I'm not into gambling anything. I don't buy any crypto. My husband makes his money, and I make the best choices, and he makes whatever choice he needs to make, and I know how to scale down. I don't have any desire for anything more than what I have, and I can live with almost nothing. I know what I need to live on, because that's what's going to fucking take at this point. That's what it's going to take. And I'm not putting any more extra money in areas that I don't need, except to further my own brain and to keep my infrastructure going. But I don't need the vacations, really. I mean, it's nice to get away, but even that right now, it's not even prudent, because it's so bad right now. I don't want to be out there right now. And so what is the example of hypersanity? Besides Jung, there are many modern examples of hypersanity. Those who escaped from Plato's cave of shadows were reluctant to crawl back down and involve themselves in the affairs of men. And most hypersane people, rather than courting the limelight, might prefer to hide out in their back gardens. Okay? I don't want the limelight. I just do what I do on Facebook Live so I can further my own brain, but you do what the hell you want. I don't care what you guys do. Evidence of hypersanity. My logic. You'll hate me for it, but I identify as hypersane. I really do. Okay? To the people who make fun of people who watch TV and believe the TV, I'm talking to everybody. When people find out the movies and the TV were the predictive programming telling you, yet you're afraid of TV, making fun of those who watch it, but yet you listen to the symptoms, using the episodes to prove your conspiracy theories. You're afraid of the TV programming, yet you're afraid of the TV programming you, but yet the TV was telling you what they were doing, what they were going to do, what they are doing. And you didn't want to believe it, and you believed it. Okay? And then you use them, the episodes, as proof, right? You can't have it both ways. You can't be a conspiracy theorist and not believe the TV, because again, you're listening to the symptoms, and you're using the evidence on the TV movies to support your thesis. Every conspiracy theorist has used something on the TV to support their thesis as far as predictive programming. Conspiracy theorists always listen to the TV, if anything more than the mainstreamers. That was their only proof besides the actual event. Okay? If you think I'm making fun of you, I probably am, so you know how it feels. Everyone makes their choices. Because someone posted, oh, I can't believe you're listening to TV to tell you when to stay home and for the last whatever year. You see people who are so right-wing, left-wing conspiracy theorists making fun of the mainstreamers, and they are one of the biggest perpetrators of listening to the mainstream media because they either resist it or they follow it relative to their belief system. Okay? And so everyone makes their choices. And now you'll be accountable for them. My advice to everyone in my world, prepare to release those demons because it will be a doozy. Let me tell you, regardless of your belief system, do you have what it takes to survive this great reset? You've been warning everybody for years. What have you done for yourself? Okay? And so I said, I was home the last 3 years, taking care of myself, while y'all were destroying your body, mind, and spirit through resistance. Not all of you. People were like, oh, you listen to the TV to stay home. Well, you should not comply. You should not do this. You should not do that. So I was home the last 3 years, taking care of myself while y'all were destroying your body and mind through resistance. But that was your choice. Make fun of whoever you want. Remember what happened to those during the flood of Noah. Noah had the last laugh. Be careful who you make fun of. You might end up with egg on your face. Okay? Now go look at all your died suddenly groups. Heart conditions. The frequencies are what activates your immune system. And if you have abused your immune system, it won't matter what you do or do not do. You'll have to suffer the fate of your belief systems and reactions. That's why I said in my book, you must open up your immune system to release the demons. Because right now, in people's bodies, the demons have nowhere to go except to torture the host, also known as the parent. And you still must eat all food to keep fueling your immune system to release those demons. And so suffering to live is not for the faint of heart. And I earned my short-term suffering the last 7 years. Okay, so when people are dying suddenly, it's because they had a huge growth that happened so instantaneously by a frequency change, they didn't have the infrastructure to push it through and come out the lymph nodes and other places or shit it out. And so it caused a blockage and they died suddenly. That's basically what it is. Or there was a rupture, an aneurysm, and they died from that rupture because their infrastructure was so weak. They were still doing their drugs and alcohol and massive amounts of sex and mitigated food and kept using their remedies and surgeries. And so their infrastructure was so weak inside, they were gelatinous. And then one day a frequency change and the growth happened just like that, just like poof, and they died. They just fall over, just dead. Okay? And so suffering to live is not for the faint of heart. And I earned my short-term suffering the last 7 years. I wanted to show you how I looked and sounded like after yesterday. So when I did that video yesterday, after I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do a video, but I wanted to show you after Friday that I was still okay on Saturday. I mean, it's like, for me now, sick. I mean, my husband, he feels the congestion. He feels tired. Right now, he's on the couch. He'll get up and take care of that load and then come back. But he's on the couch and he's tired, okay? And he feels nasally. He has like a sore throat. And so, yeah, that's the body trying to release the demons. So he has to be very careful trying to release those demons up here because he has ear issues, ear pressure issues. So he can't do what I'm doing unless he's willing to deal with his ears. So everything has to go out the back end for him. Okay, and I remember seeing him coming home after he left for a minute, come back and have to go to the restroom. And so his body is releasing demons during this energy shift. And his sickness started on Thursday. But he didn't tell me until yesterday that he was feeling sick. Because he doesn't want to admit that he's sick. Well, yeah. And so I wanted to show you on Saturday what I looked like and sounded like after yesterday, on Friday. So you didn't think I was photoshopping any of my photos. Because I was bloated on Friday and then I lost the bloat on Saturday. And now look at me. I don't know if I look bloated or not, but whatever. And so you didn't think I was photoshopping any of my photos. And I wanted to prove to you, I'm not lying about feeling energetic and clear-headed after a suffering. But I went to hell the last 7 years, even more so when COVID-19 came around. Because the last 7 years, man, you had to face your pain. You had to face everything. You had to release those demons. And I have that in my book, showing you how I release the demons. So you're not taking away substance. You're not remedying yourself to death or treating yourself out of existence, which is what's happening. People in hospice and people who are dying suddenly, they have treated themselves out of existence using all the latest things on the market, herbs and extracts and cannabis and baking soda and all the different homeopathic remedies that eventually will do you in. That's why homeopaths are aging, because those little microbial babies, the offspring, have cannibalized them, the parent. And I changed my lifestyle and I improved my belief system. I had to literally fight for my life, despite some people making fun of me and calling me stupid. Sometimes you have to sit in the suffering to earn life, but you have to understand what it takes to support suffering correctly and effectively. And so I guess I'll be a self-proclaimed canary in the coal mine who doesn't have to die from the conditions. When the frequencies change aggressively, I will get bloated, because that will be the little offspring developed from that energy shift, and then I will release those demons after I feed them. You don't ever attack any kind of disease in your body. You feed them, you be kind to them, and then you release them through my method, which is what? Coughing and sneezing and blowing your nose and pulling out the crap, because you have atrophied your lower immune system because you're afraid to shit. Or you've cured yourself so much using the J juice or any other detox out there that your body has shut all the doors of release, and then you're just one long tube of taking your little detoxes and the J juice, and it's going in one ear and out the other, or in one end and out the other, and doing nothing for you. And that's the medical holistic system, is they have treated you out of existence. Or you're gelatinous, or you're so high and mighty and think that you know everything, and you don't like how people put their fucking Facebook photos and say they're, they say that when you put a selfie on there, people have a lot of selfies, but they don't know self. Really? Do you know yourself? Do you even understand yourself? What are you representation of? Oh, people put their problems on Facebook. You should keep that to yourself. No, we're part of a human collective that shares what goes on and how they represent their world, and give other people the choices, that they're not having to go one way or the other based upon the mainstream or their friends and family, who are all collectively treating themselves out of existence, intolerant to their fucking environment. And so I share everything on Facebook because I give people the choice. If you don't like the way I have presented the choices that I've made, then don't follow me. All right? So no different than giving the Democrats more power every 8 years and then the Republicans. It's the frequencies that give you more power to some of your colony forming units in your body. And then your immune system has to match them through the lymphatic, has to march them through the lymphatic system so they can exit the body properly, assuming you have an open system. And if your system is mostly closed, that's when people die suddenly. So I posted that meme that the troops in World War I were marching through their, wherever they're going to get out or go whatever. And so when I feel the arm pain, okay, when I feel arm pain, I know that that's my immune system marching those little microbes out of the body. And so those frequencies do wake up some of the microbes. And so when you resist change and evolution and you stay cured, you are following the laws of thermodynamics, and you won't survive resisting change. Immortality was never resisting change or an evolution. Mortal humans can't give up their lifestyle and belief systems, and so they justify ending their suffering eventually, because suffering becomes worse and worse with every cure they apply to their body, until rest and peace is the only way out. Potential immortal humans will strategize their way into adaptability, and the odds are against them. They have to fight their lifestyle and their friends and family. And so that's the thing with most people in my J world, is they're fighting against their friends, their family, their lifestyle, their belief systems, everything. And they still have to survive bringing in money. Granted, they don't need as much as they think they need. But when you're supporting everyone around you and all of their desires and entertainment, you'll be the sacrificial lamb. And everybody goes over the cliff together because you'll lead them over the cliff. The Pied Piper. Oh, look at me. I'm so smart and so this and so that. follow me, take all my remedies, take all my drugs, take all my surgeries, and do this and do that. Oh, wait, everyone's dead now, right? That's why immortal humans need to know when to step away, because stepping away could save your life. That is why the system has given you everything, because they are observing the kind of choices you are making. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And so to me, suffering is a new superpower. When there are lessons to be learned, I will suffer through them. I will always look for my own accountability when I'm suffering in a suffering situation. Because when you suffer and strategize and you succeed in your goal, nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can take that away from you. The key thing is never to suffer under somebody else's expectations or having them put their hands on you. All right. And so when you're getting operations, you're getting massage, you're getting someone playing with your chakras, you're getting someone putting stuff in you and on you and around you, then you're letting someone put their hands on you, either taking away your suffering, because when they take away your suffering, it's going to make your suffering even more so later on, because you never faced it. You had somebody else take it away for you. And so that's not the suffering I'm talking about. It's having somebody else put their hands on you or in you. Though vampires will justify putting their hands on you and making you suffer under their expectations and desires. The key to longevity is to sit in the suffering you developed in your world and strategize your way out of it without vampiring somebody else. And so when I go on my Facebook and I say what I have to say on my Facebook, I am not vampiring anybody else. If you choose to follow me and you don't like what I have to say, that's fine. Say it on your own fucking Facebook. But for friends, and I see it, I'm going to respond to it on my Facebook. And you'll either like me or hate me for whatever I'm responding to. And that's okay. But the key to longevity is to sit in the suffering you developed in your world and strategize your way out of it without vampiring somebody else. When somebody says you take care of your kids until you are dead, the spell every parent puts on themselves when they are too afraid to disengage. That's why you can't talk to people or tell them anything. The fear of being alone and being held accountable for their own choices. Friends is the new currency, sucking the life out of your friends. What if your friends changed, giving you the opportunity to save yourself? That to me is a great friend, when they set you free and you still have a relationship of respect. But again, if you're doing the J world and you think you might have some issues, well, here's the thing. Can you really employ your friends to buy your food and be there for you, to wipe your ass and all that stuff? I'll tell you, when I was going through the major suffering, my husband was on the truck. He was on the truck. And if it was that bad, he would have called the ambulance and I would have to go and get treated. But it wasn't that bad. Even with my dog in the house at the time, and it was like a year ago last July, I still pulled myself out of bed. I still fed myself by myself. I still drank water. I still made myself food. I still took care of myself. Okay? So if it's that bad for you, you're going to have the friends around you. You're going to have to deal with whatever they're thinking. And that's not my world. Okay? But I've been alone most of my life. I've been in apartments by myself where I'm just listening. The walls are thin. I'm hearing babies crying and TV's going and somebody spanking a baby and babies crying. And I'm listening as I'm watching my movies and I'm going like, God, I'm on my own. And when I had someone burglarize my little apartment, that my couch and my bed were all like cattywampus in that apartment. And it was just like, it was the fucking ghetto. I was in the ghetto. This is in Sacramento. And I'm by myself. And not that I didn't have any friends, because I just moved in that area. My sister and I were not talking at the time. I was living with her and then I moved out. And I had a roommate, but I let him go because I wasn't going to go down that road. So I was by myself and I had no friends at the time. And I just chilled out and did what I had to do and just buckled down and take care of myself. And sometimes having no friends really makes you, you know what you're made of. You know how to take care of yourself when you have no friends at all. And so what if your friends change, giving you the opportunity to save yourself? That to me is a great friend, when they set you free and you still have a relationship of respect. And so parents think of their children as friends and they treat them as such, which is why children don't grow up and mature. They just get old, deteriorate, and die. And it was built into their culture. And so I said the ultimate parent is the one that allows you to make your mistakes and become the man and the woman you are, non-binary, you were meant to be, whatever that is. And the only thing that you can blame them was not being there. So those are like, oh, I didn't have my dad in my life, or I didn't have my mom in my life. Boo fucking who. Grow the fuck up. And I'll tell you, it's hard. And And when you are in that much deficit, you have to depend on your friend. You do. And I get that. But then how are you going to survive? How are you going to fucking survive when your friends are always there to pick up the pieces and be there for you? No, I will be there for myself. And if it's that bad, I'll call the fucking police, or I'll call the ambulance, or I'll call whoever. Okay? But I will not call anyone to enslave them into my world. No. So the ultimate parent does not save their children who are 18 years and older from mistakes their children made. The ultimate parent is hands off after 18, unless the child is going to school and working, becoming a responsible adult. If the child is just working, they can get their own apartment or roommate. Believe me, I learned my lessons in my 20s. And so now that I'm 49 years old, I understand what my mother was doing. And she is the epitome of a great fucking parent. She allowed me to develop the tools to save my own ass. Many parents out there are like the Black Widow. They suck the life out of their kids and their friends and their family. All right? And so one kind of female murder has become so infamous, it even sparked its own nickname, Black Widow, as seen in the new Oxygen movie. Black Widow murders, preparing whatever. A Black Widow is a woman who kills multiple people, usually partners, for financial reasons. Okay? And so sirens at 5 a.m., and that was like on Saturday or Sunday. Another angel gained their wings or lost them. All right, so when they gain their wings, it means they're flying off to heaven. When they lose their wings, they're now stuck in bed and they can't go anywhere because they're incapacitated and they're sick. And so, or they had a heart attack and stroke and they're now stuck in the hospital bed getting treated. Today, I feel so much better. My system had to push all that crap through my immune system, which is why I was in pain. But those who don't have a strong immune system will deal with clots and cancers and other stuff, such as cardiac arrest, failures or attack, or even an aneurysm. But the pain was not that bad. It was enough to knock me on my ass on Friday a little bit. And the situation made me eat and sleep and even say to all of you, I will take a vacation from Facebook Live, which I will because it's nice. I'll still be back on Monday, like I said. But I really had to sleep yesterday or Friday, even last night. This is on Saturday. Sleep was my best friend, and I ate so many different types of food yesterday. And that was on Friday. I had chicken soup, homemade chicken soup. I had lots of oatmeal, cheese and tomatoes, a burrito, lemon pound cake with whipping cream. I had to feed the little offspring from that frequency change, which gave fuel to my immune system to push out the altered babies. Of course, blowing my nose and sneezing when I needed to. I'm sure I will release the demons this morning. And I did. I'm a brand new person. I was on Saturday. But yeah, when you go through a frequency change and there's exponential growth, and then your system has to regulate the growth so it doesn't become too influential, it's very painful. Your arms hurt. Okay, your arms hurt. Those are where your lymph nodes are. Okay, that's why those who get heart attacks and strokes feel arm pain beforehand. And so I remember last week tossing and turning with a little bit of leg pain, like a sharp pain, but nothing was horrible. All right, it disappeared. Lymph nodes pushing antigen throughout the body. That's why I have the method. That's why I have my methodology. So antigen is what your body is responding to as far as antibodies. Antigen is whatever's coming in and wanting to take over, and your antibodies regulate them. It doesn't totally disappear them, but regulates them so that way they're part of the culture, but they're not too influential, causing dis-ease. But what people do, they take so many antibiotics that they develop new then armies that work against them. That's why the antibiotics world and the synthetic and the natural holistic and energy healing world, they're developing more disease. They're compounding it. And so that's why I have my methodology. It saves my ass literally every single freaking time. The J juice was to wake up the immune system, but you couldn't stay on it. And so, but I have another methodology that does not require anything through the mouth except for regular food, not using food as medicine. I stay far away from the alchemists out there. I stay away from therapists. I stay away from self-proclaimed healers or state-sanctioned healers. You end up in the morgue someday. Just look at your friends and family. I save my own ass because I can. Not everybody can. You'll have to determine if you can save your own ass. Good luck in trying to incorporate the system while saving your own ass. Once they get their hands on you, you will have a very difficult time taking their hands off of you because the money is just too good. And to save your own ass, you will go through hell if you can even survive it. Which is why I say 10/4, October 4th, is going to be a doozy for many people. Because that universal frequency change plus a sound coming out of that 5 billion phones will raise the radiation levels exponentially aggressive in the environment. It has to. No different than getting everybody in your neighborhood together and blasting music. That sound will cause a huge wave of energy. That's what you must prepare for. Expect the unexpected. But this last week of accidents and people going crazy, expect that. But even more so, you hope nothing happens. But how could it not? Darwin was ridiculed way back when he discovered survival of the fittest, the strongest, the most adaptable. And it's not just physical strength. It's the ability to adapt and change relative to the conditions. He could not go against the church, but eventually his concepts became mainstream. So think of the J world as like Darwin going against the mainstreamers out there. Be careful of those who you ridicule and say that are nuts, because maybe you are the one who is insane. And the people who are speaking whatever truth you have an issue with, regardless, are actually hypersane. And I'm not talking about religion or politics or even certain science dogmas. It's not even discussing the merits of some perspective on the Bible, because every version has its place relative to the intention, relative to the architects regulating the world. Okay? And so every version has its place relative to the intention, relative to the architects regulating the world. That's why they go back and forth between death and life. Because you're like, well, I don't get it. Why is there always a positive and a negative? Because where do you stand? Where do you choose? There's always a positive and negative to everything. You can't stand on one side or the other, or you'll have extinction. You have to understand both sides. Okay? And so you'll find out those who resist the most had your best interest at heart. Not that you were ready for it, but I will tell you that most of your friends and family want you to join them. Your coworkers are different. You must work to live in whatever capacity. But what do you do with your time off? Do you join the crowd, or do you find a way to survive? And note, nothing is poison in the food supply. When your body craves whatever food that's out there, you don't deny it. The starvation disciplines came from the holistic world because they brainwashed you into thinking certain foods and all foods were poisoned at some point. That was the depopulation agenda, making you think that food was poison. And the reason why we're going to lab-created meat, because the way we're actually getting meat is not very humane. Even in gentlemen's farms, somebody like your local organic meat bearing farm, somebody's running a local farm. Somebody running a local farm is no different than running a factory farm butchering meat. The animal still has to deal with fear of dying. You imagine what it's like to be farmed out to people, going to the hospital, and then one day end up in the morgue. Imagine your fear around dying, especially when people put you in those systems to begin with. Imagine what the animal feels like. That's why Bill Gates is not the enemy, but you made him so. You're so afraid of life, even in the therapies, you're willing to destroy your own life. You're so afraid of symptoms. Okay, so imagine what an animal feels like when they go to get slaughtered. Okay? And then when you have symptoms around food, you're so nutritionally deficient, your body finally can do what it's supposed to do, and you push out the altered weaknesses. You stay away from the food because that's what the system told you to do. Or you disable your immune system. You stop it from releasing. What you should have done was open up your immune system and learn how to cough, sneeze, and blow your nose, and understand your whole alimentary canal. And yeah, face the pain and eat all food, but you were fucked up by your friends and family and society. Your fear of food was how the system had you destroy yourself and your family through your own hand and religious belief systems. You desired to look sexy and emaciated was also a depopulation agenda. Sexy girls who are malnourished can't handle energy conversion. Skinny, sexy girls don't have enough substance to handle the environment. Of course, even the obese ladies too. And of course, they treat themselves to death. They needed the food. Food and release process, the way I have in my book, and was the methodology that saved my life. My juice activated my immune system, but that was the intent. I preempted 2019 in 2016 because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been ready for this pandemic. But because of me, many of you have survived the first and second, third, and fourth waves of COVID because it's a frequency that wakes up your immune system, what you have already inside of you from years of abuse with herbal remedies and surgeries and prescription drugs. If some of you would have evolved with my information, you could be in a very different place today because you would have made the behavioral changes necessary to survive, or at least give you another chance to survive another frequency change. The other argument is that people have died because of my information. Prove it. Prove it in a biological court of law. Prove it, considering all the factors, lifestyle, belief systems, and treatments they already received prior to coming into my world. A person dying in hospice is not proof that whatever they drank and ate last was the sole reason. It's a lifetime of choices and predisposed issues is what caused the person to be where they are today. and why they fucking die. It's the cumulative effect. Those simple minds want to make correlation equal causation, because that's what simple minds do. They don't have enough background or experience or education to understand otherwise, and they listen to all the fear porn. That's why evolution is so important. That's why change is so important. Now, how are you going to survive your culture and your religion and your belief system, especially when one is so resistant to change? We will see. Everything's about conditioning. You either condition yourself to die and condition yourself around you to expect it someday, or you understand my information and condition yourself to live, and maybe pull away from those who want you to die someday, or lessen those deadly influences around you. But it took me 7 years with the issues that I had to condition myself to live and survive changes in evolution. Half the time it was before COVID, and the other half the time was after COVID, during COVID, and I pretty much left the social scene, despite everyone around me thinking I was crazy. Oh, you need to be around people. No, I fucking don't. No, you're crazy for not even sensing the indicators. That's what being under the influence does to you. That's what using all the therapies does to you. It takes away your inability to sense danger for what it is, and then feed into all the hormones of feeling happy, joy, or angry, or even sad. That's why people don't survive. They let the system program them to be happy, run away from their pain, or have somebody put their hands on them, or tell them what they should feel or not feel, or get lost in all the entertainment and distraction, and of course fall to the fear porn, while doing really nothing effectively, like life-inducing about it, except to keep disabling their immune system, deadening oneself, buying all the protection. You can't protect yourself from the environment. You don't live in a bubble, okay? You either adapt or perish, and people choose to perish, but they want to have fun doing it with as many people as possible. No different than people holding a hurricane party, partying like it's 1999. There's no time like the present to choose how you will condition yourself, and it might take 10 years for some of you. If you even survive that long, if you can even survive your friends and your family and your culture. October 4th and 11th will be a wake-up call for many people, or it'll be nothing at all. It'll be just another day. It'll be just another day, another death, or another symptom. You already expect it. You've already embraced it. You already gave permission to the system to take you out when it was appropriate for them. You signed all the forms, and you gave money to the insurance companies, and you took all the remedies and modalities. You gave your permission a long time ago. Now the system is holding you accountable. And so I said, this will never happen. The 1930s, that is remembered for being the decade of the Great Depression. It began with the stock market crash of October 1929, which led to the greatest economic decline in history of the industrialized Western world. Every community in the country was affected by it. Now look where we are. We are in a controlled Great Depression. You are being given choices. You will suffer for your choices. You will choose either that nice vacation and caviar over feeding your family. You'll go into debt feeding your family because the shiny object was more important. Instead of that Fendi bag and designer purse, you might have to buy milk. The system is going to put the squeeze on you. Those who waste resources. The rich will buy cures and destroy themselves faster because they can, right? The reason why I didn't fall victim to so many of the things out there, because I didn't have health insurance for many years. And when I did have health insurance, I spent $300 a month, and I used student loans for that, yes. And I went and asked them about the PMDD and looked for help. And what did they give me? Prozac and a social worker to talk about my problems. That was fucking it. Was a social worker and Prozac. That's a waste of fucking money, but whatever. But I did put my money where my mouth was, and they offered no help. And even my mother says, well, go find a woman doctor. So I went and found a woman doctor somewhere in Sacramento, and she recommended me Yaz, a birth control to control my fucking PMS. Seriously? That was the only option I had, was medication? I said, you know what? Fuck it. I will deal with it. I will just suffer through it. And I did. And so the rich will buy the cures and destroy themselves faster because they can. The poor will try to keep up. The middle class has a choice. I am middle class. Those who are poorer than me will try to keep up with the rich people, putting off the image, starving their family while buying named brand items, going heavily into debt. The image they are doing well is more important than actually doing well. Very wealthy people will buy all the surgery, all the Botox, all the vacations, all the cures, even become an influencer showing how great they are at healing themselves. And they'll also back themselves into a corner. Now look at your chemtrail activists. They can't get out of where they're at. They're making money off their friends, and they can't say anything opposite with it. So they're stuck. They're fucking stuck. The poor and the rich are pigeonholed. The middle class always have choices. Some of you are middle class, but you'll become very poor in health. Some of you are very wealthy, and you'll also become very poor in health. You always had to follow somebody else, or look up to somebody else, or look down upon somebody else. Those who can't break away from the crowd, who need followers, also must follow somebody else, not develop their own path. They will become very poorly in health. It's the extremely wealthy who rely on people who rely on an image. And it could be one person, or it could be thousands of people. It could be a Mark Zuckerberg who says, okay, I'm taking a hiatus and doing my own thing. And Priscilla Chan's like, yeah, okay, I'll help you. He's not going to happen. But it's the extremely wealthy who rely on poor people, who rely on people who rely on an image, could potentially take time off and take a decade to get their life back, because it could be a decade for some people to get their life back. It took me 7 years to get my life back. And I didn't have any major surgeries, no major diagnosable conditions. I had my own trauma, but it was not very bad relative to other people. I would imagine it would take somebody who is way worse off than me more than 7 years to get their life back, if they even have the time. You'd really have to strategize your own survival right now, because I'm feeling it. Many are not surviving it. And so I said, I think I might take the weekend off, lay low for a bit. My arms and my back were kind of sore. When the arms and back are sore, because the immune system is marching all the waste out of the body through the lymph nodes. All the exit points are open. I will feel the pain of releasing waste. The soldiers of war must be released, and POWs must be allowed to leave. Take care this weekend. No Facebook Live until Monday. That's today. And so I'm almost done here. The frequency change has completely scrambled people's brains through the process. People's intentions, they were tempered by other regulators, are now coming to surface, and it's not pretty. West Virginia Toll Road was shut down due to hazmat. That was like Thursday or Friday. Accidents, sicknesses, anger, sadness, despair, fatigue. Be careful out there. Many are hair trigger, rapture-like scenarios. And I said Nephilim, okay, equals you, your altered offspring, because you are altered from sexual reproduction, from aggressive fertility, from antibiotics, painkillers, detoxes, injuries, herbs, and war. And so then I said, when will you grow up? Our society is built from children who are also children, even at 90 years old, and die as children. Oh yes, I feel a change in the atmosphere, and not a restful night's sleep. Microbial children are why you have cancer, disease, chronic illness, and disorders. One must release the demons, children, microbial children, and feed yourself and parents as well as the demons. Remember, children are destructive unless they have a purpose. And if not purpose, children destroy and need someone to regulate them. People have taken starvation as a discipline against gluttony, when in actuality they release the children out of their body. They would not have to force themselves to diet and destroy oneself. Women and men at any age who are so skinny, aging out, have taken starvation as a discipline and then feed off the death hormones as they start walking and talking to the spirits of the dead nearing death. Obesity, too many children in the body feeding until they destroy the infrastructure in the body, or they receive help from the medical system to manage the children in their body, like laparoscopic surgery and, gut belts, or whatever we call those things. Release the children, save yourself, everyone, even children, but release in our society, but children in our society have no understanding. So the children, juvenile cells in their body will destroy them if they're not strong enough to control their own juvenile cells. And so I said, release the children, save yourself, everyone, even children. But children in our society have no understanding. So the children/juvenile cells in their body will destroy them if they are not strong enough to control their own juvenile cells. Let me give you an example of why the system must program your children who already have major deficits, and I mean major ones. There are some families out there who produce extremely violent and abusive, extremely consumptive consumerist children who turn into dangerous adults. Would you put the future of humanity in the hands of some of your neighbors, friends, and family? And if you did, we would be back to the caveman days, reinventing the wheel. No, I would not want to put the future in the hands of some of my neighbors and peers. That would be scary. We would have annihilation and genocide. Oncology is controlling the out-of-control children, but the parent is starving and cannot handle growth, food, and development. Climate change is oncology, controlling the children of the world of all ages, even 80 years old, all the way down to 1 year old. So there's a reason why the state wants to control your children and teach them, because they already know it's a lost cause for many people. Their kids are hypersexual, and they will grow up to be hypersexual adults, and they have to learn how to take care of themselves, or they will go and find the nearest thing and destroy them. And that's why we have rapists. That's why we have sexual deviants. That's why we have bullies. That's why we have serial killers, because parents are breeding them. And so the system has to do something, even in the school system. And if you don't agree with it, then I hope you're teaching your kid at home how to be a tolerant, productive, peaceful human fucking being. Okay? So now you understand why the state's doing what it's doing. Now you understand. And if you don't understand, Just watch your Facebook and you'll see all the court cases that let you know why they do what they do, why the system is doing what it's doing. Embrace the fucking change. Bye.